A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to the program Galaxy Prime. It is such a pleasure to be in your company once again. To all of viewers across the continent, thank you for choosing us. And to those of you who are watching us live on our Facebook page, that is Galaxy Universal Network, we are coming to you live from our Midrand studios here in Johannesburg. We are on channel 500 for those of you that have access to the StarSat decoder. My name is Audrey Chimwanda Twala. We'll take a look at our top story today. The President of the African National Congress, Cyril Ramaphosa, has called for the removal of all those charged with malfeasance from the government and from the party positions. The ANC alliance partners have also chipped in. They say they expect more action against those found wanting. Ramaphosa on Sunday penned a 7-page letter to the ANC's rank and file in which he openly lamented the web of corruption that is bedeviling the party. Now, as President Cyril Ramaphosa is calling for the removal of all those that are charged with malfeasance from the government and from the party position, the ANC alliance partners say that they expect more action against those that are found wanting. Well, joining me to discuss this further is a political analyst, Kagiso TK Pooe. A very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. A rather unprecedented move there by the president, in this case, not of the country, but of the African National Congress, calling out corruption on those that occupy, the highest ranks within the ANC that have been alleged to be corrupt. Would we have seen perhaps the Secretary General addressing this before we see the President? Is this a more consensus Ramaphosa that we're seeing emerging out of this?
Well, thanks for having me. Let me just start by there. It's not as unprecedented as before, because if you were to remember how President Thabo Mbeki used to run the government, on Mondays he used to usually have 2 letters, if I'm not mistaken. One was to the party with the rank and file, and the other was to the rest of the Republic, citizens of the Republic of South Africa. But I guess maybe in terms of what makes this a bit different is that it was unexpected that the President Cyril Ramaphosa would actually come out so vocally.
Yes, particularly with him. Yes, precisely.
We are having problems with corruption, especially if you read, like you said, it's quite a long letter. I don't think it qualifies as a letter if it's more than 7 pages. But it was a rather long lamentation. I think that's a better word. It was a long lamentation. Just basically, stating what every citizen in South Africa knows, that this corruption is not to say he invented it, but it really has gotten out of hand. And I think COVID has basically exposed it a bit more to the citizens.
Do you think perhaps this will act as a deterrent to those that would be corrupt officials? I mean, he went further on by putting step by step of what needs to happen to those that are found wanting within the party with regards to corruption. Do you think it will help at all?
I think this is where maybe the problem starts, in the sense that it's one thing to express an opinion as a president and as a human being to say, listen, this action of corruption is wrong. It's very different when you forget who the human being is. We're speaking about somebody who is, in theory, supposed to be the most powerful person in the Republic of South Africa. He is not only the sitting president of the ANC, but he's also the sitting president of the Republic. So I think this is where the citizens maybe get a bit. I think the correct word is they start to believe that this is part and parcel of the political game. Because you should not at this stage be speaking to us. You should be saying, listen, as the president of the ANC, as somebody who has first-hand knowledge of the processes of the party, this is what we have done. These are the people we have brought to Brook. Obviously, understanding that the party does not bring people to court and take them to jail, but you can say these are the people we suspended based on X and Y of the ANC laws. We are now handing it over to the legal authorities. So I think the issue of asking, is anything going to come from it? I think the action kind of tells you that, listen, he is like you and me. He's basically hoping something will come to happen. And I think that's quite the sad lamentation, because at this stage, he's been in power for, I think, close to 2 years now. We should be at the level where he's bringing what the ANC has decided, who the ANC is charging, and not telling us that they are about to start processes about who's been corrupt.
Right. So what happens to not guilty until proven guilty? The judicial perimeter, can it be applied to ANC members that are found wanting, or that should be beyond reproach when it comes to corruption? Because it goes on to say that those that are found to even be associated with these issues of these scandals, particularly now we saw what happened with the PPE procurement scandals, should be eliminated, and you should distance yourselves from such people like that. Or would that be overstepping his authority, so to speak?
I'm glad you actually asked this question, because it's one which you always hear about, to say innocent until proven guilty. We actually have to make two things. We have to put two things into the same bottle here. One, that is a legal process, as you've stated. He is neither the judge nor is he part of the jury that decides who's guilty or not. So on that account, he's correct in saying it has nothing to do with the political party. What he is, though, in charge of, he is the president of a political party. And the barometers of what qualifies as guilt and innocence is not for political parties. What political parties care about is the issue of political capital. Does the issue at hand, i.e. corruption, cause the party, in the eyes of the republic and in the eyes of citizens, to fall? And I think the worst case scenario would be, would they be able to be voted out? So I think for the longest time, we've heard people speak about innocent until proven guilty. That has nothing to do with the political party. The political party cares about reputation. So the better question to actually ask the president and the ANC and people involved in this is to say, does this cause your party to be seen in a negative light? And if you read the lamentation of 7 pages, that clearly comes out. So the issue of innocent until proven guilty is really a very low barometer for a political party. It should rather be, if you have been suspected, if you are bringing the party into disrepute, because that's what you're doing, you should step aside. And I always make this example when I speak to my students about ethics. There was the potential prime minister of Denmark at one stage. Her name escapes me. But this is a person who went overseas. She used a credit card of the government, and I think she spent, if I had to maybe put into rand terms, I think 2,000 rand. Immediately when she came back into Denmark, she paid it off. But it became such a huge furor within Denmark to say, how dare you use our public funds while you're overseas when you could have used your own funds? This person who was touted as being the potential prime minister of Denmark had to step down, and she's never really seen the light of day in Danish politics. Now, think about it. Somebody used a credit card from the state. She paid it back. But the citizens were so incensed at the fact that you dared to use public money representing our country overseas. Yes, you paid it back, but the very fact that you could actually take that action says you do not respect the country. Now think of South Africa, where people say innocent until proven guilty. That has nothing to do with ethics. Ethics is about, are you bringing the party to disrepute? And until I think that actually hits the ANC and ANC membership, we are going to be stuck in this limbo of speaking about corruption but never dealing with it.
And I absolutely hear you with the issue of ethical leadership, how that is different from the legal side of things. You spoke about this, perhaps the 7-page lamentation, as you call it, being a stark representation of a president who's quite frankly sick and tired, of all the members that are bringing the party into disrepute. Could we then say that the opposition parties are being literally given political mileage to act against the ANC, particularly now, just before we go into the local government elections next year?
And this is further lamentation, because in any other, and I hate to use the word right-thinking country, the ANC would have been voted out a long time ago. So, which then makes us have to ask the question, why do South Africans, because corruption and allegations of corruption are not new to the ANC. This is not this president's invention, nor is it the former president's invention, contrary to people's past belief that he invented everything which was bad in South Africa. For the last 26 years, this has always, think about the arms deal, this has always been a stench which follows the ANC. But how is it that this party has been able to go from scandal to scandal? It maybe raises a question that maybe we need a better version of an opposition party. Because it's not to say South Africans don't know what's wrong. We all know what's wrong with the country. But it could be that, listen, maybe when I say the right thinking, that maybe the better word to use is to say, maybe we really don't believe that if the opposition took over, whichever color spectrum you fall in, whether it's the blue, the red, or the khakis, I don't know what many colors exist in the South African landscape. But it could be simply that people are saying, listen, at this current juncture, this devil that we know is better than every other devil that we have. And I think that's an indictment of the opposition party, because we all know what's going to happen is that the ANC will probably scale down a bit, but they will still be the governing party in a lot of municipalities. And maybe that speaks to the fact that we need to start saying, instead of complaining about the ANC, we should turn our focus to the opposition party and say, we want better from you. And if you're not going to give us better, then we might as well put you in the same garbage bin as we put the ANC.
So would you then say that this letter has actually done more damage than good for the party?
I think in terms of PR, and that's one thing I have to give President Cyril Ramaphosa. He is very good at the PR. He knows how to get people to speak about what he intends to do. What he actually does, for me, it just really shows me something which I've always argued, that unfortunately the Republic is short of leadership at the moment. So if this party did, if this letter or this lamentation did one thing for me, and I think maybe for most citizens, it's just to show us how bereft of great leadership we are at the moment. That, think about it, you are the president of the Republic, you're president of the ANC. You hold many levers of power, but the only ammunition you've been able to give us is a letter. Now, I know letters have toppled great empires before, but this is not the case. This letter just really speaks of the fact that we are bereft of leadership. And maybe, look, I always say this, we have to be a bit kind to people who are sitting, because I don't know what the hot seat is like. But maybe he's like you and me, and he's just basically frustrated and he doesn't know what to do. And that would be even worse, I think.
Now let's take a look at an example of the former mayor of eThekwini, Zandile Gumede, who's now serving as a member of the KZN provincial legislature, with this cloud that is still hanging over her head. Being drawn back in by the same ANC that is saying, look, we need to be more vigilant and we need to take action against those that are seen to be corrupt. Does this instill confidence, do you think, into the people that look up to their leadership?
I think I'll go a step further. If you listen to what she said, I believe her words, and I'm open to being corrected. She said that we as a republic or South Africans are nothing without the ANC, after assuming that position, which basically tells you where many people like her think about the rest of us. And maybe where she believes she has power. She believes she has enough power to basically tell the president, because you just have to look at the timelines, and tell the rest of us that, listen, there's not a thing you can do to me. You can be the sitting ANC president, you can write this lovely letter, you can be a citizen who's complaining on TV, but there's not a thing you can do to me, because I'm still going to assume that position. And your ethics and your morals really don't apply to me.
But is it fair to say, the issue of corruption within top officials in a political party is only unique to the ANC? We've seen what happened with the economic freedom fighters. Some members within the DA also have not been spared the issue of corruption.
You're right in saying that. Hence, I say when it comes to the opposition, maybe contrary to what other people might say, I put the opposition in the ANC in the same WhatsApp group, I think, as the youngsters put it, which is, it's people, and the letter at the end, the last page, actually kind of gives insight into this, because his argument for wanting to deal with corruption is not because it's an ethical thing, it's because it's going to get them votes. So you're very correct in saying that's what a lot of parties actually hang on to. It's not that they believe that it's actually ethically good to serve people without taking taxpayers' money. They believe it's good to say these things so that you and I can believe that you and I are going to actually vote for them. So you're correct in saying that we have to cast a wider net about who is actually ethical and who is not. And I think I like the term you used, ethical leadership. And it has to go beyond simply looking at the ANC. Maybe we look more brightly upon the ANC because they are the ones who've got the levers of power. And that, look, that's what we can actually account for right now. Maybe when these other guys come into there, I mean, if you look at the Western Cape and certain incidents which have happened there, maybe not enough light has been shed by, the media on that. And you're right in saying we need to have more of a deeper discussion beyond simply the ANC, because it is a bit sad that our lives seem to revolve around this party only.
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. TK, thank you so much for speaking to us and giving us your insights. We certainly appreciate it. TK Pooe, they're speaking to us. Mixed reactions are from across the political divide and from ordinary South Africans with regards to the 7-page letter to the ANC ranker coming from President Cyril Ramaphosa. We'll have to leave it there for now. We'll take a very short break. This is Galaxy Prime. We'll be back in a moment.
Violence and sexual abuse against children has become a major social challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. We appeal to adults, parents and caregivers to be kind towards children during this lockdown and beyond. Give children the space they need to engage with their reading and learning activities. Do not hit them. Do not yell at them. they are equally frustrated. We urge you to listen, support, and help the children to survive the COVID-19 lockdown. Report immediately any incident of sexual abuse. The Department of Basic Education. Every child is a national asset.
The day will come when these measures are no longer needed. Until then, however, we must ensure that all our people receive adequate support. We look ahead to a better future. I have faith in the strength and the resilience of ordinary South Africans who have proven time and time again throughout our history that they can rise to any challenge that is presented to our country. We shall recover. We shall overcome.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish.
Look at this.
I know.
Like that.
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Do you dream of awesome cartoons filled with funny characters who go on extraordinary adventures?
Everybody ready? Ready!
Hold on, I'm coming!
This is absolute genius.
I'm on my way.
I'm ready. Titans, go!
Feel the excitement.
Like it? I love it!
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through!
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement.
That was delightful.
Feel the heat.
Welcome back to the program, Galaxy Prime. Thank you for staying with us. To all our viewers, we certainly appreciate it. We take a look now at other stories from across South Africa and the continent. President Cyril Ramaphosa has reprimanded Finance Minister Tito Mboweni for a tweet that he posted on Saturday, which he criticized Zambian President Edgar Lungu's sudden firing of the country's central bank governor. The presidency stated on Monday morning that Ramaphosa is not pleased with Mboweni's comments and that they do not reflect the views of the government and the country's citizens. Mboweni set out a controversial tweet on Saturday in which he stated his intentions to mobilize support for Denny Kiliala, whom he described as a good man. Kiliala's removal was announced on Saturday by the Zambian government. Mboweni, who is also a former governor of the South African Reserve Bank, tweeted that his comments might have landed him in trouble, but he maintained his stance on the need for an independent central bank. The presidency stressed that South Africa had a long and strong relationship with Zambia. Kilalia has been replaced by Christopher Mpanza Vunga. That's a former deputy finance minister who's seen by political analysts as an ally and a close friend of the Zambian president. Now, as President Cyril Ramaphosa is calling for the removal of all those that are charged with malfeasance from the government and from party positions, the ANC alliance partners say that they expect more action against those that are found wanting. Ramaphosa penned a 7-page letter to the ANC's rank and file in which he openly lamented the web of corruption that is bedeviling the party. As President Cyril Ramaphosa called for the removal of all those that are charged with malfeasance from the government and from the party positions, ANC alliance partners say that they expect more action against those that are found wanting. Ramaphosa on Sunday penned this letter in which he openly lamented the corruption that has been happening to those that are within the party. This comes as the party leaders and members have also been implicated in a COVID-19 relief funds graft. In a frank admission, Ramaphosa says that while the ANC was not the only one embroiled in corruption scandals, it was, and I quote, accused number one. He further said the party had to move to insulate itself from reputational damage by removing those that are tainted by alleged criminality from the position of responsibility both in the government and the party, adding that all those that are facing these accusations had to be immediately subjected to disciplinary processes of the party's Integrity Commission. Now, the SACP spokesperson, Alex Mashilo, says that the party is welcoming Ramaphosa's frank condemnation, but pointed out that it was not enough. COSATU spokesperson Sizwe Pamla says the Federation would discuss Ramaphosa's letter with his affiliates during a Central Executive Committee meeting. Students in all grades resumed classes on Monday after weeks of closure because of the coronavirus pandemic. The final year students had resumed classes earlier to prepare for the examinations. President Cyril Ramaphosa closed the schools in July after they were briefly reopened following a public outcry on the rising of virus cases. Monday's resumption of classes comes as the country registers a decline in new infections. The health minister says the country is over the surge, adding that the plateau has started. Last week, United Nations agencies asked African governments to reopen schools with measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Authorities in South Africa say they have prepared for safe resumption of the learning season that is starting this week. Three Tshwane Metro Police Department officers are among the people who died in alcohol-related vehicle accidents that occurred in Gauteng this weekend, while 740 drivers were caught for drunk driving. This comes less than a week after the sale of alcohol under lockdown level 2 was permitted. The three Metro police officers were involved in a head-on collision with a suspected drunk driver in Pretoria West early yesterday morning. According to Tshwane Metro Police Department spokesperson, Senior Superintendent Isaac Mahamba, the officers spotted a vehicle that was driving recklessly and facing oncoming traffic in the Pretoria Central Business District. The officers tried to stop the vehicle, but it fled and the officers began a chase. Gauteng MEC for Community Safety Faith Mazibuko says that she is saddened by the tragic accident. She conveyed her condolences to the families of the officers and to the TMPD. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has said that municipalities owe the power utility Eskom some 43.9 billion rand at the end of June. Gordhan revealed this in Parliament Well, during questions from DA's Member of Parliament, that's Celia Brink, who asked about the details of the current age analysis of the total debt owed by each municipality to Eskom. Brink also wanted to know the amount of the debt insofar as the principal debt, the interest and the penalties in each case were concerned. His responses showed that the Free State, Mpumalanga and Gauteng collectively owed more than 30 billion rand. Gordon's replies come shortly a week after the power utility said that it still wanted to recoup money from a number of municipalities. This was after the power utility had attached the bank account of Maluti Apofung in the Free State, which owed 5.3 billion rand at the time. Now let's take a look at some business news. Edcon Holdings has signed a purchase agreement that will sell part of South African clothing chain Edgar's to rival Retailability. Retailability is a retail fashion holding company of retail brands that include Legit, Beaver, Kano and Style. They're operating in over 460 stores across South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini. The closing of the transaction is targeted for September 2020 and it is still subject to various conditions precedent and regulatory approvals, including the competition authorities. The parties will now move to work on preparing the signing of the sale and the purchase agreements on the Edgar's business conducted in the rest of Africa. Edcon was placed under business rescue in late April after a 5-week strict lockdown to contain the coronavirus in South Africa wiped out sales. It curtailed a recovery from a 2019 restructuring. Edgar's was put up for sale alongside sister chains, that is Jet, which specializes in low-cost clothing, and Thank You, a finance loyalty card unit. The company as a whole employs 18,000 permanent workers and hires about 5,000 more in a seasonal basis. Looking further afield now in the region, Hopewell Chingono has been denied bail. Has been remanded to September the 1st, 2020. Magistrate Ngoni Nduna says that there are no new facts that can warrant the granting of bail. Zimbabwean journalist Chingono will remain behind bars at the Chikurubi Maximum Security Prison. Magistrate Ngoni Nduna, who says that the journalist's intention was to remove the ruling party ZANU-PF from power, a task that remains pending. Chingono is also seeking bail, citing the July 31st demonstrations that passed with no violence being recorded. He was arrested last month and is facing charges of inciting public violence as well. The magistrate also felt that Chingono's earlier bid for bail is only meant to bring bad publicity on the state of the country's prisons. Now, following the developments in Mali, the following months of mass protests, the soldiers have seized power in Mali, arresting President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, forcing him to resign on national television, sending shockwaves through the West Africa. They have promised a new election and a swift return to civilian rule, but the international community has unanimously condemned the coup, and there are questions over what these developments mean for the fight against militant Islamist attacks, particularly in the Sahel region. Here's a report.
It was no surprise. Mali is under military rule. Colonel Assimi Goïta has declared himself the head of the junta that deposed President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta this week.
We can't afford any more mistakes. With this intervention, we have put the country first, Mali first. That is why we have assured our support and told them to start working, because we no longer have the right to make mistakes.
For months, Keïta had resisted mass protests against his government, giving few concessions. He even pressed ahead with controversial parliamentary elections. On Tuesday, rebel soldiers arrested Keita and his Prime Minister Boubou Cissé, driving the pair to a military base on the outskirts of Bamako, which they'd seized that morning. Late into the night, Keita announced his resignation on national television.
Vous dire ma décision de quitter mes fonctions. Toutes mes fonctions.
To tell you my decision to resign from my functions, all my functions from this moment on, and with all the legal consequences, the dissolution of the National Assembly and that of the government.
De conclure que cela devait se terminer par leur intervention.
If today it pleased some elements of our armed forces to conclude that it should end with their intervention, do I really have a choice? I submit to it because I do not wish any blood to be shed to keep me in power.
Pour mon maintien aux affaires.
The new military leaders briefly closed Mali's borders and announced a nighttime curfew. They pledged to hold new elections soon. In the meantime, a transitional president would be appointed, either from civilian or military ranks.
Civil society and political social movements are invited to join us to create together the best conditions for a civil political transition, leading to credible general elections for the exercise of democracy through a roadmap that will lay the foundations for a new Mali.
On home soil, jubilant scenes on the streets of the capital Bamako suggested popular support for the overthrow of the president.
The whole of Mali has been liberated by a Republican force. The Malian people support them from above and from below. We are really very, very happy. There is no education, there is no health, there is no security. Everything has been told to the man. He does not want to listen to the people.
The prominent opposition movement, the M5 RFP, which has been driving mass anti-government protests, said it would work with the junta.
The military are Malians. They are patriots who have only supported this democratic, republican, secular struggle of the M5 RFP, which was carried out by the sovereign people of Mali. So this is only the culmination of a process that was set in motion by the people of Mali.
Coup leaders also met with the ruling coalition, who, while condemning the overthrow, were resigned to a new order.
Nous avons à l'unanimité, en tant qu'acteurs politiques, démocrates et républicains,
we have said unanimously, as political, democratic and republican actors, that we condemn any seizure of power by force of arms, as republicans and democrats. However, what's done is done, and it's the country that's calling us.
c'est le pays qui nous appelle.
But the international community has unanimously condemned the coup. Regional Bloc, the Economic Community of West African States, will send a delegation to Mali and has called for Keita to be restored to power. Meanwhile, the African Union has suspended Mali. The UN Security Council has demanded a return to constitutional order. However, restoring the previous constitutional order will be a difficult task. On Friday, thousands of people demonstrated in Bamako, celebrating the coup.
Taking a very short break now. When we come back, we take a look at international news. This is Galaxy Prime. Stay with us.
Violence and sexual abuse against children